Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Crest Network's regular Tuesday morning webinar. A whole series of questions that we're going to be addressing today. The Q&A period that we do, or the Q&A webinars that we do every month, are the result of all of the different questions that we are asked during the month from people inquiring about the Crest Network and occasionally a Crest member that wants to know something specific. We also have with us Bill Giannone, the other co-founder of the Crest Network. Bill, want to make sure you're there?
I am here, Mr. Wagner. Good morning, everyone.
All right, let's see if we can move this along. Question number one. Can I get personalized coaching? That's really an easy one. For everybody that's already watching, you already know the answer to that. But we do offer coaching on a fairly broad variety of areas of your business. And interestingly enough, when I was doing the preparing this webinar yesterday, it dawned on me that we provide coaching for all of the critical areas of your restoration or roofing business. And we have all of the key coaches that are renowned to provide that advice and guidance. So yes, we provide coaching on sales, coaching on marketing. They are two specific different areas of your business, although it's starting to be recognized today that the sales and marketing silos that used to exist in businesses are merging pretty rapidly. The lines between the difference between sales and marketing are blurring because of the social media world and the attitude of the consumer today. Bill is a master at providing financial reviews. Scott Tarpley on production. Bill again on administration and invoicing. And we're very thankful and honored again to have Scott Tarpley and his crew at DEI to provide help with the large loss and the time, or excuse me, large loss especially. Bill and Scott can help with time and materials pricing. And then very specifically, if you're looking to market to expand your business into the commercial world, then I can certainly help you, having had many years of involvement in helping clients go after the commercial market. Bill, this one is all yours.
I'll take it away, Dick. The question is it worth it to do recon? This comes to us quite often from a lot of guys who have established a really sound residential water damage operation, and they want to know if it's worth taking other bites out of that apple. Well, there is a short answer to it. If you can go to the answer, Dick.
Sorry.
That's okay. The answer is yes, with a but. And you know me, I always give you these buts. Yes, but only with the proper preparation. It's very important to not just jump into doing recon right away. There are several things that you need to make sure you've got in place before you even dip your toe in the water. First, you have to make sure that you have someone who's very capable of running reconstruction projects. They're a lot different than mitigation project guys. For those of you who don't currently do a lot of repair or recon work, it's a different animal. It's the exact opposite of what you would think that your mitigation process should be. In mitigation, we go out, we see something, we take care of it first, then we talk about it afterwards. Well, on the recon, the process is entirely different. First, we have to talk about it. We have to establish a scope of work. We have to then consult with the adjuster, making sure that our scope of work matches their scope of work, because ultimately they're paying for it. And then finally, once we have all of those processes in place, we need to schedule dates and times for several events, not the least of which is the money. We have to make sure that the money flows. Remember, on water damage, we're working at much higher margins, and we can afford to do the work knowing that the money's coming in the next 30 days or so. With recon and repairs, for a $5,000 water loss, you might be talking about a $20,000 repair job, and your profit margin is going to be about half of what it was on the water damage. So for your purposes, you're going to want to make sure you get money on regularly scheduled draws. That's one piece. Then you're going to want to make sure you're scheduling all of your contractors, whether you're using subcontractors or your own personnel. You need to make sure that those people are, once again, scheduled out. You also need to put together a flow chart of how long the project should take. Once again, these are things we don't worry about on the mitigation. We go in, we do our thing, and we pop out. These are all new and different concepts. And if you're not familiar with them, you're going to really stub your toe, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So of the things I spoke about, remember, you need personnel to help run the projects. You're also going to need someone who has a really good ability to write a very good repair estimate. And yes, on repairs, we're calling them estimates because they're submitted to the insurance company and your client, and they're subject to review. Once they are approved, then they turn into scopes of work. But then don't forget, if you're talking about things like flooring and cabinetry and countertops, now you've got to go back to your client and you have to get an agreement with them on what type of materials they would like to go back with, what color flooring, what type of flooring within their budget. Those are lots of things that if you're not ready on day one, you're really going to have a problem. So let's do all that proper preparation. That is one of the things that many Crest members over the years have either dipped their toe into or have gone full bore in. And that's something that Dick and I have worked with clients over the years on. And if it's something that you are interested in, please make sure you reach out to us before you make that decision. And we can clearly walk you through some of those minefields and try to avoid some of the pitfalls.
Bill, is it also true that recon margins are significantly lower than mitigation?
Yeah, absolutely, Dick. I kind of glossed over it before very quickly, but that's a very important thing to understand. You're giving up the percentage margin in exchange for a higher dollar volume ticket. The normal mitigation ticket might be $4,500, and the normal repair estimate would be $9,000 to $12,000. The difference being you're operating at much tighter margins. Again, we're going to talk about margins a little later because I know we had another question about water damage margins, but your water damage margins are usually generally in the 70 to 80% range, whereas if you're doing everything right on the repairs, you might not be able to get above 35 to 40% gross margins on your repairs unless you've got a lot of in-house labor doing that work and you've got enough of a base of business that can keep those guys spinning all the time. If that's the case, then you can get closer to 50%. But just imagine that you're going to probably be working between 35 and 40% gross margins. So it's not where you could just go in and do it and make mistakes. 35 to 40% gross margins on a $10,000 job is the same amount of dollars in your pocket as it is on a $5,000 water job. And we all know how, if we're really professional, how simple it is to turn around those $5,000 water jobs. Well, guess what? It's not so simple to turn around those $10,000 repairs.
Thanks, Bill. Another question is slightly different than the question, do we provide personalized coaching and so forth. This question is very specific on the types of coaching that we provide. And I'm going to elaborate in a slightly different vein. Coaching comes in a wide variety of different descriptions, different definitions. And so what the Crest Network has done is we've built a website and a database within that website especially for the members, whereby a member can go in and get quote unquote coaching by reading an article, reading a white paper, reading a detailed 20-page dissertation on a specific vertical, such as the details about marketing to and selling to a nursing home, as an example. You can also get, again, in quotes, coaching by watching the weekly webinars that are also posted on the members side of the Crest Network website. And there's just a ton of information in there from me, from Bill Giannone, from Scott Tarpley, and Scott Tarpley's staff. Also, there are dozens of short videos that provide some simple coaching on very, very narrow, very specific topics. Many of them are on the sales and marketing strategies. There are many up there for financial and administrative help and guiding and coaching. And then more specifically, if you are a Prime Plus member for Crest, you have available at your fingertips and available as part of your membership access to the Prep Prime documents and support and information that comes with the Crest Prime Plus membership. So the Prep Prime aspect is for you to be able to stick your big toe in the waters of commercial and just do a little bit of it. Get comfortable with it. Don't stick your whole neck out and go whole hog in it. Just dabble in it. And then as a as a Crest Elite member, you have access to the entire Prep Elite program. Many of our clients are on the Crest Elite membership and are using the Crest Elite Prep program. And so there are a lot of different ways that you can get coaching. With the Crest Prime Plus doing the Prep Prime membership or the commercial aspect of it, you do get the opportunity to have a once a month phone call to talk about that specifically and generally with me. With the Crest Elite Prep membership, you get one-on-one coaching every week with me and one-on-one coaching every week with Bill Giannone as well. So those are kind of tongue twisters for me to make sure I give all of the different examples with all of the appropriate names, but there is a broad range of coaching available on the Crest site. And recently, within the last month or so, we even added a blog section, and that blog section is on the public side so that the public can see some of the answers to some of the information that we're putting out there. And much of that is great information for our Crest members as well. Bill? Sorry,
I have nothing further to add, Dick. I think everything you explained was very spot on, and you stayed very, very on point, even though it is difficult to get around all the different names.
It's all yours.
If you could just pop ahead to the next question.
Oops. There we go.
There we go. This is a question I've been getting more and more often every single week from members and non-members alike who just want to reach out and pick our brains. How do I handle this third-party review? We all know that third-party review is becoming more and more commonplace. It used to be reserved for only the largest residential mitigation and all commercial claims. Now it's creeping its way into even the $5,000 and $6,000 reviews. And there's a short answer and there's a more detailed answer, as there always is. And I'm going to give you the short answer. Do not directly communicate with these third parties on any residential work. I'll repeat that because it's a lot of times very difficult to hold to this line, but on residential work, do not directly communicate with any third-party vendors, especially if they are peer review vendors. If they're the ones hired to ask questions about your invoice, be very careful. Make sure that you're not doing exactly that. Make sure you're not communicating with them. When you do, all you're doing to our industry is you're legitimizing their existence. And you don't want to do that because if you go to their websites, by and large, for the most part, they're marketing to insurance companies. And part of their marketing efforts is that they are guaranteeing 20% reductions in mitigation invoices. So it's one thing to talk about peer review, and it's one thing to understand somebody's reviewing or auditing your invoice. But when somebody's guaranteeing a reduction, that pretty much means that they're going to be more unreasonable than reasonable if you've got a legitimate answer to all of their questions. Now, it's important that you don't take that to the point where you totally dismiss them and do not answer their questions. If you do that, the person who hired them is the adjuster. They're going to get ticked off, and the adjuster is merely going to say, fine, I'll take the fact that you didn't answer the questions, that you can't defend them, and I'm going to take the final review of my third-party peer review guy as gospel truth. The adjusters are actually getting aggressive enough at this point that they are not only doing that, but they're releasing the check for that amount and considering the file closed. So we have to be really careful. We have to reserve our right in the process. And we also have to understand that, yes, our contract is with our client. And yes, at the end of the day, our client is ultimately responsible for payment of our invoice. But we also have to understand that in a perfect world, that would happen all the time, but we don't live in a perfect world. And by and large, we owe our client the opportunity or the responsibility of at least defending our invoice if legitimate questions get raised. So my tip is do not answer directly, but always answer the questions that have been presented to your client. And you could put a little wording together that says something like, Mrs. Smith, I have been contacted by a third party involving my invoice for the services at your home. I do not want to violate the sanctity of our contract by talking to anybody who is not allowed to have this information. So I thought I would just answer their questions directly through you. Please forward these answers to the adjuster. That simple phrase is something that makes it real easy to now turn around, answer their questions, being polite as possible, not calling them stupid or dumb questions. Let's be polite. If they ask a stupid or dumb question, which is very commonplace, let's just answer with legitimate, solid arguments, keeping our client on our side, letting them understand that we're doing this for them. Then let the process go forward. There may be a rare occasion where the adjuster refuses to speak with you. This actually happened with one of our clients in Atlanta, where the adjuster refused to acknowledge the answers and told the restorer that they needed to communicate with the third party. Well, we had to get the homeowner involved, and the homeowner demanded that, no, the insurance company needs to talk to her. And that's how we made the communication line go. So they can become difficult at times, but you need to hold your ground. You can't allow them to become part of our legitimate process of invoicing and collections, but you also can't discard them out of order because they are becoming more commonplace. Now, my last thing, this does apply, guys, only to residential. If there are third parties involved on the commercial side, that is a normal part of the process. They have a lot more weight in that process. The commercial adjusters have to deal with so much on a claim that their attention might be spent in other areas. So let's make sure that we're not bogging ourselves down with minutia saying, I'm not dealing with third parties. No, on the commercial side, it's part of our obligation to our client and the process to work with them. Again, doesn't mean that we allow them to take control. It means that we work with them. Many times you'll hear Scott Topley talking about his conversations with adjusters or expert third parties on a job. That's part of the process. Just hope everybody understands that. Thank you, Dick.
Thanks, Bill. I get the question. I had it recently. Somebody asked me, do you think I'm promoting my business the right way? And I have to tell you, as a coach and a consultant, that's a loaded question. That's actually putting the bullets in the chamber and pointing it toward your head. That's a really, really tough question to answer without causing despair and angst and frustration and every once in a while anger from the person asking that, because it is a really tough question. In order to fairly answer that question, it takes a series of 30 or 40 or 50 questions that have to be asked of the client, of the contractor, to understand and know specifically how they're now marketing and promoting their business, what kinds of things they're thinking of or considering changing, and do they have the business to justify that? Is it the right track? Are they headed down the right path? And so just to give you a kind of a 10,000 feet overview of the kinds of things that we really need to evaluate, the first is, who are you marketing to now? If you're, as an example, calling on agents and plumbers, I'm going to ask you, have you taken those agents and plumbers and sorted them according to A, B, and C clients? A for awesome, C for crap. And if you have not, or your marketer has not identified which clients that they're calling on that are A clients, which ones are B clients, and which ones are C clients, then right out of the gate, you haven't properly qualified your clients. And if you haven't qualified your clients or your prospects, that means that you also haven't identified who your ideal client is. And if you don't know who your ideal client is, there's no possible way you even know whether you're promoting your business the right way. Other things that come into play. Are you still doing yellow page advertising? And yes, I know we're, typically not buying a little colored ad in the book that's delivered to us every year, but there's certainly yellow page listings on the internet. Are you involved with pay per click? And if you are, what's your budget? And is your budget burned after week one? Many people don't realize, but if you've got 20 employees in your company with 20 cell phones, all 20 employees can go on to the internet and click on your competitor's ad, and you can burn 20 of his pay-per-clicks. And if you burn 20 of his pay-per-clicks, you may have burned his whole monthly budget and he gets nothing out of it. So if you're doing pay-per-click, that can also happen to you. You can also subscribe to the guru that tells you that they can put you at number 1 or 2 or 3 on the top of the fold on the first page of the website. Referred to as SEO or search engine optimization. And we can do it, or they can do it by way of a variety of different things, but they might charge you as much as $1,000. And oddly enough, I heard somebody recently say they were paying $2,000 a month to an SEO company, and they still weren't in the first, second, or third position. In fact, they weren't even on the first page after 6 months. And that's $12,000. I hate to tell you, but nobody goes to the second page of the website when they're searching. You could also be actively involved in social media. And I often coach clients on how to utilize social media. The frustrating part about that, am I promoting my business the right way, is when I go and look on those social media posts, I do the old pound my face into the palm of my hand because they're missing the mark. And sometimes they're seriously missing the mark on how they're promoting their business using social media. And that might be on LinkedIn, that might be on Facebook or Twitter. Shockingly enough, Pinterest is an incredible website or social media platform for promoting your restoration or roofing business because it's very visual and it's very welcoming to pictures and video. And in our industry, we have lots of pictures and video that can go there. Am I promoting my business the right way? I'm going to give you some other examples of things to not do in promoting your business. Most of us use our website as part of promoting our business, but it frustrates the daylights out of me when someone says, well, here's my website, go check it out. Man, we just had it redone. We just paid $4,000. Oh man, is that so cool? Yeah. And then you start reading, and their website says to your clients, to your disaster clients, no money out of your pocket. We bill your insurance company directly. We help you with your hotel stay if you need it. I guess by that, and these were taken right off of an existing website, actually a couple different ones. Apparently, they pay for the hotel room. We care about your crisis. Geez, I get a big tear running down my cheek thinking, wow, they care about my crisis. That's just baloney. We bring your home back to better than new condition. I don't even know how that's possible, but that was a line on a website that I recently visited in our industry. We work with you and we assist whatever, and it goes on and on. They list several things that they help assist with. We are highly trained in water damage emergencies. Really? You're highly trained. Or our staff is IICRC certified. You all have been in my classes where I ask the question, and I've asked this question with 100 people in the room. By a show of hands, who can tell me what IICRC stands for? Now, I love the IICRC. I think it's a vital part of our industry, but most people do not know what IICRC actually stands for, even though you have IICRC certifications. And then the classic of all time is you see on websites, lots of websites, we do fire, water, smoke, mold. I'm not sure what they mean by do it. I could be a smart aleck about that, but you don't do fire, water, smoke, and mold. You mitigate a fire damaged property. So say the things that you're actually doing, not we do fire, water, smoke, and mold. And now I want to jump back for a second, back to, and this screen is things that you should not say in promoting your business. But there is also in asking or answering that question, am I promoting my business the right way? The number of visits or the frequency of those visits to your prospects comes into play. There's a sweet spot. There's an optimum there. And it's different depending on which vertical or which type of client that it is. Are you delivering tchotchke items every single time you visit? And what's the value of those tchotchke items? And is the marketer using the tchotchke items as their crutch rather than going there and asking for the job or asking for the sale? And last but not least, it's just one of my pet peeves, marketing literature, marketing brochures or flyers. Go to my website and read the article that is entitled, Your Marketing Brochures Are Junk. Because in fact, your marketing brochures are junk in most situations. So, all right, Bill, I'm off my rant. It's back to you.
Thank you, Dick. My question that I received actually about 10 times in the last month, what are good water damage margins? Now, again, there's a straight answer, 70% or more. This answer assumes we're talking about residential water damage for non-program work. If you're in a TPA, your percentage will be lower. There's almost no possible way for you to make 70% in a TPA for two reasons. Number one, they restrict the types of items that you can bill for. And number two, they restrict the amount of days that you can bill for equipment. They kind of put limits on the amount that your bill can be. And for any projects that extend past what they consider to be normal, your margins are going to go down. Now, a lot of companies combat this in a way that is what I call cheating. If they have a piece of equipment that stays on for 5 days and they only bill for 3, they don't assume any additional lost revenue against not being able to bill for those 2 additional days. So they do kind of what I call fancy bookkeeping to make them feel good that they think they're still making really good margins. But, you know, for a lot of analysis on Wall Street when I was there, one of the things we looked at wasn't just the facts of the case, but sometimes you have to look at something called opportunity cost or lost revenue cost. And it's not enough to say, well, I was able to bill 3,500 on the job. That's one aspect. And then you do our math off of the 3,500. It's another thing to say that I had a lost opportunity cost on this because this really was a $5,000 project. So when we talk like that, now we're really putting into perspective what the true cost of program work is for us. That's what I mean, that this answer is pretty much a generic answer for water damage, residential, non-program. Now, if you're under 70%, then I really think we should have a conversation. And remember, guys, the Crest Network is not just for commercial coaching. Many of our elite members utilize Dick and my services every week for their everyday business. And I think that's a very important thing to remember right now. And one of the things that I spend a lot of time on with some of the companies that are part of our network is getting them to fully understand their margins, because from being able to understand their margins, everything else in their business can flow. They can make really good projections on what their fixed costs should be. They can understand how much they're going to have at the end of the year to invest, and they can have ideas as to how much they can put in their own pockets at the end of the year. All of that really comes from the gross margin numbers. So you have to really delve deeply. I'm a big data guy, and we all know, anybody who's heard me talk, that you have to gather the data. You have to understand what it's really costing. It's not enough to say, well, I pay my tech a $20 an hour rate. Well, because as an owner of the company, by the time you get done paying that guy's wage and his burden and the associated costs for having him around, like somebody to do the payroll for you, like your workers' comp insurance, like putting him in a vehicle, all those additional costs, your $20 an hour could turn into $40 an hour. And that's not an absurd number, guys. You need to understand that. It could be way over that. Every company is different. So you need to be able to do that data collection and figure out what your true cost per hour is. Again, I've worked with guys and they tell me, oh, they're at 85% gross margins. All well and good, sounds terrific. When we start digging deeper into what the true costs are, when we get done and they find out they're operating at about 60%, it's really a wake-up call for them. And they didn't understand. And usually here's what I'll hear. You know what, Billy? I'm so glad we did this because I couldn't figure out where I was bleeding all my money because I'm doing 85% margins and I'm not making money. Well, the real answer is, well, you were doing closer to 60% margins, and that's why you're not making money, because it's really difficult. If you're not doing 70% gross margins, it's very difficult to make money at the end of the year if you're a stable and or slightly growing company. If you're a brand new company, yeah, you can make money because you have very little overhead. But if you're a stable operation that's been around for a while and you've got some office staff and you've got a physical location and you've got some carrying costs and you want to have a little bit of growth, 20% growth year over year, yeah, you need to be operating at least 70%. So my final tip is, if you're not operating at 70%, or better yet, if you don't know what you're operating at, please drop us a note, give us a call. We can have a chat about it, and we can certainly put you on the road to 70% or more. Thanks, Dick.
Thank you. I was recently asked this question as well. How do I create legitimate, practical, achievable business goals? Well, the first, and the person used the word achievable. I'm a big believer in, okay, it can be achievable, But if you make the goal too easy, if you make it too achievable, nobody's stretching. Nobody's really putting forth 110% to achieve the goal. So I really, right out of the gate, would say make your business goals not quite out of reach, but at a position where you really have to stretch. And so then in establishing those goals, there is a lot to consider. What kind of training does your staff have, especially your production staff? What kind of skills do they bring to the table? If they are only a WRT level IICRC certification, that might not be enough to establish goals of wanting to do $2 million in commercial work. Other areas for you to consider in establishing your business goals. What's the general capability of your staff, your entire staff, your office staff, that admin staff, your estimating and invoicing staff, the person that might fill the role of a clerk of the works, or the person that would be qualified to walk around a commercial loss or any kind of a loss and have conversations with the adjuster to set scope. What kind of infrastructure do you have? In other words, not just your staff, but equipment. What's your financial position? Are you in a position to take on, if you're going to achieve a goal that's lofty, are you in a position to meet all of the payroll obligations that will come your way by achieving that goal? Can you afford, will you have the money to pay the temp agency for that temporary staffing that you have to bring in, maybe to achieve the goals that you set? Maybe you're going to have to rent equipment, air movers, dehues, generators, trailer mounted desiccants, a whole semi-load of air scrubbers. I don't know, but are you in a position, that's the financial position, are you in the position to pay that bill when that bill comes in? Not every restoration equipment rental company is going to say, hey, don't worry about it, you pay me when you get paid. Because as some of you know, you might never get paid. What are your bank options? What's your line of credit capability? That has a big bearing on how you set your business goals. What's the comfort level in general with your company? Are you primarily focused on residential? Is residential your core, but you want to branch into the commercial world? Your marketing staff, how many marketing people do you have? And what are their marketing skills? Are they just donut droppers? Or do they actually know how to go out and ask for the job, to ask for the appointment, to ask for the next visit? Those all come into play in setting your business goals. First off, you need to write out those specific goals. One of the famous lines that I have loved for many years is, if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. So for heaven's sakes, if you're going to create business goals, then write them down. Write them out in very specific. Don't just say, I want to do $2 million this year. Be very specific about how you're going to achieve those goals. What are the benchmarks that you will work toward and the targets to work up to whatever that specific goal is? Make sure you're sharing these goals with your entire team. List out the actual actions, the specific things that you absolutely need to do in order to get to that goal. And then set deadlines for them to happen. To say, I'm going to hit $2 million and not have a specific deadline for it, and even better, start breaking that down by the month. That will enable you to see your progress and know whether you're behind the 8 ball or you're ahead of the 8 ball. And I can't help but put in this shameless plug. Engage a trusted advisor or a coach or a maven, somebody to help you put all of those business goals on paper. Billy?
Yeah, Dick, if I could just take it one step further, I really wanted to stress something. As I was listening to you while you were on the question side, asking all those additional questions, it just struck me that 2 words came to mind: unique and personal. You were asking questions that every single answer was going to be unique and personal to that company. And it's a roundabout way of me getting to the point that when you're choosing your trusted advisor or your coach, it's important to understand that the questions that you were asking, Dick, were as a means of developing that targeted specific goal for the company based on their own answers. And I'm not here to say pluses or minuses about any specific coaches in our industry. There are many, many really good coaches. It's just important for you as an owner of a company to understand that if you want a specific goal for your company, you should look for a coach or an advisor that works outside of the box and that works specifically with your answers to your questions. There are some coaches and advisors that will advertise things like, I'll take you from $0 to $1 million. And they want to plug you into their box. And if you're comfortable with that, that's the person you should go with. But if you are intrigued by the questions Dick was asking that are very unique and very personal to your company, then you should look for an advisor or a coach that takes that information and designs something for you rather than having you fit into their design. That's all I wanted to share.
Thanks, Bill. It really highlights the point that in our case, in the Crest Network case, we don't subscribe to or believe in the cookie cutter process like so many coaches do out in the marketplace. So thanks for bringing that back up. Next question is for you, Bill.
Next question is me. How do I know my mitigation teams are working fast enough? I get this all the time when I have clients start to talk to me about production. And normally, if it's production out in the field for the science of how to do something or the art of how to do something, I'll defer those questions to Scott and his team. They're much more capable and qualified to talk about production. But when they're talking about the rate of production, a lot of times they're just questioning not how they're doing the work. They're just questioning whether or not whatever's being done out there is being done quick enough. So there is actually a mathematical way to figure this out for those of us, and the vast majority of us still do, use Xactimate. All right. If we're using Xactimate, once again, I will throw my little caveat out there. If you're using Xactimate, please make sure that the pricing you're using within Xactimate is satisfactory for the needs of your company. If you find that the local price list that they issue every month meets the needs of your company and you can make money with that pricing, by all means, go ahead and continue to use that. But for the vast majority of the clients that we have at the Crest Network, through our own independent studies, we've realized that we may need to make some changes to the labor and or equipment rates to make sure that we can properly operate our company with sufficient margins for growth and profitability. Okay, so that's my caveat. The answer is if you use Xactimate, you should track your field times against your Xactimate invoice. Now remember, it's not an estimate on mitigation. So when we create our Xactimate invoice, we're taking all of the tasks we did. Most of them are line item or unit measure tasks, like cutting drywall or removing base, things like that. Well, at the end of our estimate, if everything is in there and we're fully written, we then can run a labor report, and the labor summary will tell us exactly how many hours we are getting paid for. They will tell us who should have performed those tasks. If it's, for instance, if we had to detach some ceiling fans or some lighting or some intricate electric and we had to bring an electrician in, obviously we want to deduct those hours from our staff hours. But when we're looking at the general WTR tasks, we want to be able to compare them to the Xactimate. So we need to track our guys' hours on the job. A lot of people don't track hours on their residential projects. They just send the guys out because it's not a time and materials. We don't have them clocking in or out. Well, I really recommend, for a lot of reasons, but especially for this reason, let's clock their times on their projects. Let's start gathering that data, whether we're using T-sheets or whether we have to just go to old-fashioned time and materials employee logins. That's fine. Let them sign in and sign out of a job. Let's track those hours. As long as those hours are less than what Xactimate gives us, we're heading in the right direction. Normally, most companies should be able to operate at about 80% of the allowable Xactimate hours. And if you're doing that, you're going to do real well, and you're going to be well over that 70% gross profit margin that we talked about before. So let's do that. Let's make sure we're tracking our times on the jobs. Data collection, and especially that type of data collection, is going to go a long way towards helping us not only answer this specific question, but also generally work on our profitability. Thanks, Dick.
Thanks, Bill. Whoops. Get to the right one here. There we go. So the question, and nobody asks ever, no contractor that I've ever worked with has ever said to me, hey, can I be a jack of all trades? But I put that up there because what they're really asking, and what they typically ask, is, hey, I already do fire and smoke and water and mold, but I'm thinking about adding a few more services because, I want to, I heard so-and-so is doing XYZ kind of project or service work, and I want to make that extra money on that. And so I used the question, can I be the jack of all trades? Because everybody just simply, it just seems, always wants to chase the shiny red ball. They want to do more and more and more. Just like the question of the very successful mitigation contractor doing a great job in residential, he starts to think about, hey, you know what? I think I can do some drywall repair and some painting and replace some flooring and carpet. I think I'm going to add recon services. And Bill really addressed that earlier in this presentation. But the fact is, I have seen contractors, I have been to their websites where they list almost like a line card of everything that they offer or hope to offer or want to offer. And that line card, well, one of my clients that I used to work with years ago had a line card with 35 different services on it that they bragged about offering. That is indeed being a jack of all trades. And everybody knows that a jack of all trades usually means a master of none. I have had contractors say, hey, I want to start offering services for wind damage or hail damage. specifically really along the lines of roofing and siding. I want to offer board up for impact when a car or something vehicle crashes through a building. I want to start doing duct cleaning. It's only $15,000 to buy all of the duct cleaning materials, and the duct cleaning people say I can make that back in 6 months. Yeah, right, you can. I want to do power washing. I can buy a really good power washer for under $2,000. I want to start offering that and power wash roofs and siding and fences and decks. Yeah, and then it's I want to say to them, and I don't because I'm just such a nice guy. Please don't laugh, Mr. Keller. I want to do rose bush planting. I want to offer garden tilling because I have a rototiller, and when I have a guy free, it's like, oh my gosh, please, people, grow up, get out of the jack of all trades, master of none concept, and realize that when you go to a specialist, a medical specialist, they're the ones making the money. They only offer a couple very specific complementary services that favor each other, and those are the ones that command the highest dollars. You can go to your general practitioner doctor, as I do twice a year, and my copay is $10. Or I can be referred to a specialist, as I have been in the past year or two, and my copay is $45. And part of that is because their fees are substantially more. In one of them, I paid $90, or excuse me, $75 for the copay, and they talked with me for 3 minutes. They're the specialists. They're the ones making money. If you really want to make really substantial money, quit trying to be a jack of all trades and simply become a specialist. You can't appeal to everybody. You becoming a specialist means you limit the kinds of services that you offer, because those are the kinds of services that you do really, really well. And although people haven't realized this, when you offer a whole list of services, you lose credibility. You are no longer thought of as a subject matter expert. You are no longer thought of as the go-to person or company for their specific need or issue. And it really boils down to you just trying to grab at straws and pull everything you can into your basket. And that really doesn't help. Again, Billy, I'm off my rant.
I leave the rants for you. It's quite all right. This has been coming up the last couple of weeks because there's been a lot of posts on Facebook from a lot of guys. NOAA came out with some reports, and a lot of the Florida TV and radio stations have been reporting this. They're saying it's going to be a very busy hurricane season. How do I get ready? Well, there's real simple answer to that. Check out the Crest website, because we've got scores of articles, reference materials, webinars on all different aspects of getting ready for a busy season. Doesn't necessarily have to be going to a hurricane, but you want to make sure that you can get ready. The second way you can do it, and this is my attempt at self-promotion, is you can attend the Cat 5 conference in Tampa. We're having a conference at the end of June 23rd through the 26th, down in Tampa, and it's called the Cat 5 conference. It is specifically geared towards large loss or regional cat response. We're going to have speakers from every aspect of the industry there. We're going to have experts from every aspect of the industry. When you show up, you're going to think you know a lot about catwalk, even if you've been on them before. And when you leave, you're going to realize how much information you were able to gather, and you're going to be in a totally different thinking and acting pattern going forward. The website's right there. It's the Cat5, it's cat5conference.org. Make sure you go there, cat5conference.org, and you'll be able to see all of the information regarding this incredible session we're going to have. Thanks, Dick.
Thanks, that, and I might add the cat5conference.org, that website has the hotel registration information on it. It's at the Sheraton Four Points, Tampa. My wife and I were up there last week to check it all out, and it's a beautiful hotel, and the event is going to be truly first class. And if you aren't interested in just simply dealing with the hurricane season because you're in other areas of the country, it doesn't mean that this is only for those that want to travel to the cat zones. This will have and offer incredible information on dealing with third parties, dealing with adjusters, dealing with the lawyers. We're going to have multiple lawyers there on stage for you to inquire to and talk to. So it's going to be pretty broad for the restoration contractor, but there will be a little focus on going after hurricane work. So or category 5 type losses, whether they're the floods in Midland, Michigan, or elsewhere. I think this is about the last question. I want to do more commercial work. Can you help? Yeah, the short answer is that Crest Prime Plus and Crest Elite members have access to the Prep Prime or the Prep Elite program. It enables contractors with all the material, the information, the guidance, the coaching, the support. It enables you to expand into commercial. It provides a complete pre-disaster program, and it helps you build a portfolio of commercial clients. So check out the website, thecrestnetwork.com, or reach out to Bill and myself, and you will have the opportunity to talk with us about the possibility of becoming a Crest member if you're not already. Billy, thanks for supporting us on this. Any other last words?
No, Dick, I really appreciate it. I thank everybody for their time, and we stand hanging out by the phone waiting to reach out and have anybody reach out to us and answer any questions that they might have. Look forward to this next month.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.